What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to run through how to install the Pterodactyl panel and secure it behind Nginx Proxy Manager and Cloudflare's proxy. We're also going to be configuring Wings to run on that same machine. So some prerequisites you're going to need for this are a Linux server. I'm using Ubuntu 2004 in this case. You're going to need Nginx Proxy Manager configured to have port 80 and 443 forwarded to it, so you want to change those settings in your firewall. You're going to need an SFTP client like WinSCP so we can copy the certificate over. You're also going to need a domain name with 2 DNS records created. So in this example, I'm using the domain name rustserver.org, and I've created 2 domain names, 2 subdomains. Panel.rustserver.org is going to be for the Pterodactyl panel, and it's going to be behind Nginx Proxy Manager as well as Cloudflare's proxy. I've also created node1.rustserver.org, and that's going to be strictly for Wings, and there's going to be no Nginx proxy for that domain and no Cloudflare proxy. So you'll also want to obtain an SSL certificate for your domain through Nginx Proxy Manager. I would recommend getting a wildcard cert so you don't have to obtain 2 certificates, one for the panel and one for Wings. A wildcard will just cover both of these. So I obtained one wildcard cert, and it's going to cover both of these domains. So as you can see in here, right here is that certificate. It's actually a custom certificate in this case because I uploaded it from a different source, but you're going to want to obtain it as you normally would through Let's Encrypt. Put your information in and get the certificate. Once you have the certificate, you'll want to download it so you have them stored somewhere. I have mine stored in a folder on my computer so that we could transfer it over to the server when the time comes. Another thing you're going to want to consider is if you use Cloudflare, which I'm assuming you're going to, you're going to want to change your SSL settings for your domain. So on the left-hand side, you'll click SSL TLS, go to Overview, and make sure this is set to full strict. If you don't do that, you're going to have redirect issues when you're proxying through Cloudflare and through Nginx. So in that case, let's get started. So first things first, you want to head over to the Pterodactyl website. I'm going to have this linked below. I know that scripts exist to install Pterodactyl for you. However, it's not recommended, and if you follow Pterodactyl's documentation closely, it's really not that hard to install. So go ahead and click Let's Get Started, and here we are at the page. So most of these commands are going to be just copying and pasting, but anything that's not a part of Pterodactyl's documentation and is custom configuration that we're going to do, I will have documented below. So let's begin copying and pasting. I'm going to speed this process up, but I will slow it down whenever there's a portion that we need to go a little deeper on, or any custom commands that we're going to need to do. So just go ahead and scroll down, and we're going to start here and just begin copying and pasting all the way down. Now the password for this is going to be this one. I would recommend changing it. I did not change it in this case, but this is what you're going to put. Now at this portion, we're going to need to make a cron job. So you're going to want to go to the cron tab, which is sudo cron tab -e. I like using nano, so just use nano for this. Go to the very bottom of this file and paste this in. Save that. Now we need to create a queue worker for the pterodactyl service. So you're going to want to nano a file that's located in etc systemd system. It's a file we're going to create called pteroq.service. Copy all of this data here and just paste it in, and then save it and get out of it. And then more copy and paste. All right, now we're at the web server portion. So for this, one of the most important things to note when it comes to Nginx Proxy Manager, I would recommend here that you generate a self-signed certificate. I know it sounds weird when you say it that way, but for this web server, internally it should be self-signed. Externally, it's going to be using that signed certificate that we got from Let's Encrypt. So I will put this command down below, but here is the OpenSSL command that we're going to use to generate a self-signed certificate. Now put this somewhere where you're going to have access to. I'm going to actually put this in Ubuntu's home folder, but this command is going to generate a self-signed certificate for us. So just go ahead and paste that and just put in the information that you need. Okay. Now if we list, we have a self-signed certificate and a private key. Now we can continue going through the pterodactyl documentation because we have the cert. Once we remove that default Nginx configuration, we can just nano etc nginx, say it's available, and we're going to make a file called pterodactyl.conf. Now what I always do, we're going to have to make some changes here to this file. So I like to just open this up in Notepad++ and paste it. So what we're going to do here is anything that says domain in parentheses here, or brackets, this should be the local IP of this machine. So in my case, this is 10.10.1.23. And there's one more line here we're going to have to change, 10.10.1.23. Now once those are set to the local IP, we need to go down here to these two lines that say SSL certificate and SSL certificate key. We need to point these to those certificates that we just generated, that self-signed one. So in my case, those are located home Ubuntu, full chain self-signed, and home Ubuntu, private key self-signed. Once that is all there, just copy this whole thing, paste it in here, save it, close it, and then we can continue on with this information. So we're going to make a symlink here for the sites available pterodactyl configuration, and then we just have to restart Nginx. And if you didn't get any errors, that means that you're good, and it took that self-signed certificate. So now actually, if we go ahead and we browse to this private IP, you're going to see it comes up with a self-signed cert, but it's issued to the provider that we told it, and we're at the pterodactyl panel. Now this will not work as it stands because pterodactyl does not play nice with self-signed certificates. So we'll need to continue and do some more configurations for the Nginx portion to work. Next, we're going to configure Wings. So one of the big things for Wings is going to require a signed certificate. So what I would recommend, like I said previously, is you have your signed certificate from Let's Encrypt in a folder on your computer. You're going to go ahead and take that, and this needs to be uploaded to the server. So use something like WinSCP to connect to this Linux machine. Go to a location that you want that certificate to be in. In my case, I'm in home Ubuntu folder. Here's my signed certificate, and here's my private key. We're going to take both of these and just upload them here. Once they're there, then we're good and we can proceed with the Wings install. but make sure that you have a signed certificate accessible somewhere on the server because you're going to need it for Wings. So let's go ahead and continue with copying and pasting. So at this portion where we're at enabling swap, we're going to need to make an additional change along with what's listed here. So let's go ahead and edit the grub file. So nano etc default grub. So along with what Pterodactyl suggests here, which is adding the swap count equal to 1, go ahead and paste that in. Along with that, there's something pretty important that we're going to need to change, which is going to be this grub cmd line Linux. There's a bug within Pterodactyl that for whatever reason, when a container is running, when a server is running, it does not show the CPU usage and RAM usage. So we need to add another filter on this grub cmd line Linux. So let me go ahead and get that file pulled up. Okay, so this is what we need to add in. On this grub cmd line Linux line, we need to put in systemd unified C group hierarchy equals to 1. So just paste that in there, save this file, exit this file. Next, we're going to need to follow this command here, which is sudo update grub. Once grub updates, we're going to need to reboot the machine. So just type sudo reboot. And then we'll wait, give it a couple of minutes to come back up, and then we're going to reconnect. Okay, I think it should be back online at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and connect to it. And then we can continue with the Wings install. Okay, and now that we have Wings installed, we're going to need to go ahead and add this node to the panel. So for that, we're going to want to go ahead and get the panel fully proxied and configured through Nginx Proxy Manager. So go ahead and head over there. We're going to create a proxy host, and the domain name in my case is panel.rustserver.org. The scheme is going to be HTTPS. And then it points to the local IP of your panel, so that's mine in my case, and it's port 443. You want to block common exploits, you want to make WebSockets supported, and apply your SSL certificate, and then force SSL. Now, one very important thing for Pterodactyl, you have to add a couple other Nginx flags. So go to the advanced configuration, and I'll have this link below. It's also on Pterodactyl's documentation, but you're going to need to copy this info and paste that in. Then once you press save, now the panel is fully proxied, and we should be able to go ahead and access it via the fully qualified domain name. And there we are. And if we look at the certificate, we should see it's a Cloudflare certificate because this panel is now protected by Cloudflare for DDoS protection. Go ahead and log in. Okay, with us logged in now, we can go ahead and create the node. So head over to settings, we're going to go to locations, create a location, and you can call this whatever you want. I'm just going to call this local. Then we can head over to nodes, create a new node, and I'm going to call this panel. And the fully qualified domain name is going to be node1.rustserver.org. It's going to be different in your case, but that's mine. We're going to leave this on use SSL connection, and we're going to leave this on not behind proxy. I know it sounds weird, but this is referring to the Wings node, not the panel. The panel is behind a proxy, but Wings will not be. So go ahead and configure your memory. In this case, mine only has 8 gigs of RAM, and your disk usage. Now, the damn important SFTP port are very important. You're going to want to make sure that these ports are forwarded in your router to this to the local IP address of this panel. In my case, mine are a little different. I changed mine, but in most cases, it's going to be the default 8080 in 2022. Once all your settings are configured, just go ahead and do create node. Then we can head over to the configuration tab. We're going to copy this configuration open it in a text editor because we need to make some changes. So big thing here is the certificate location. Remember we uploaded that certificate, the signed certificate, to, in my case, to the Ubuntu home. So I'm going to change this cert to the location. And once all your configuration looks correct, go ahead and copy it from here. You can minimize, and if you see right down here, it says this should be placed in the daemon's root directory, which is going to be an etc pterodactyl and a file called config.yaml. So we're going to go ahead and nano etc pterodactyl config.yaml. Go ahead and paste that configuration in, press X, and we're going to head back to the pterodactyl documentation for right now because we got to make some more changes. So once that configuration is in, just go ahead and copy paste this wings command here. And if all goes well, it connects to the panel. So it looks good. You can Control C out of this. And one thing that's really important is this next step. We need to use systemd to daemonize wings. So similar to what we did for that TeroQ service earlier, we need to go ahead and do another one for wings. So go ahead and nano etc systemd system wings.service. And with that said, go ahead and copy and paste all that in there. Do that, save and exit, and go ahead and enable the wing service. So we do systemctl status wings. We can see wings is active and it is running, which is good. Now if we head back over to the panel and we go to nodes, we see we got a green checkbox. That's what you always want to see, is the green heart. If you see it's red, then you'll want to go into the F12 to the console and see what error you're getting. But in this case, all looks good, so we can go ahead and we can create a test server to make sure everything works. So go ahead into the node, go to allocation. Now in this case, because this node is behind a firewall and it is netted, it's not directly exposed on the internet, the IP address is going to be the local IP of this machine. So in this case, that's the local IP. And go ahead and just allocate whatever port. In my case, I'm going to do a quick Minecraft server. Once it's allocated, we can go over to servers, we can create one. We can go ahead and do Minecraft. I'll give this 2 gigs of RAM and 2 gigs of disk space. We'll leave CPU on 0 for unlimited. Go ahead and scroll down, and I'll do a paper server. And then we can just do create. And if we open this up, we should see it's pulling all the information. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, definitely just leave a comment and I'll try to help you out the best I can. And with that, as we can see, we've got a fully running Pterodactyl server with wings installed. It's protected with Cloudflare and it has a signed certificate and it's fully accessible. So yeah, thanks for watching.